Maybe this feels familiar. You function, you go to work, you take care of your life, and still there is this gray layer over everything. You rarely feel truly happy. You feel tired a lot of the time. You doubt yourself. You think joy feels out of reach. It seems like this is just how you are. You might even say, I'm just a melancholic person. Sometimes there is more behind it. For example, dysthymia. A chronic, rather mild, very burdensome form of depression. Welcome. I'm Carsten Noack, a travel companion for heroines and heroes. As a therapist, I support people with anxiety, trauma, and long-standing emotional exhaustion. When quiet sadness becomes your everyday state, causes, symptoms, and ways forward. What is dysthymia? Dysthymia is a depressive disorder in which symptoms stay relatively mild yet persistent over a long period of time. According to common diagnostic criteria, mood is mostly low or sad for at least 2 years. Symptoms never reach the full intensity of a major depressive episode. In diagnostic systems like ICD-10, dysthymia is described as a chronic, milder depressive disorder. In newer classifications, for example DSM-5, you often see the term Persistent Depressive Disorder, dysthymia. Many people report that dysthymia starts in adolescence and then runs like a thread through their lives. It is also common to have additional, fully developed depressive episodes on top, and this is sometimes called double depression. A major depressive episode on top of a chronically depressed baseline. People with dysthymia have a higher risk over their lifetime of developing further depressive episodes, anxiety disorders, or problematic substance use. That is one of the reasons why early treatment is so important. Dysthymia versus major depression. What's the difference? Both dysthymia and major depressive episodes belong to the group of depressive disorders. Key differences lie in intensity. In a major depressive episode, symptoms are usually strong. Severe lack of energy, deep hopelessness, and a significantly impaired ability to manage daily life. In dysthymia, symptoms are milder but constantly in the background. On the outside, everyday life often runs, but inside, everything costs enormous effort. The course over time. Major depression often runs episodically. Phases of very low mood alternate with periods of partial or full remission. Dysthymia runs chronically for at least 2 years without longer symptom-free intervals. You can think of dysthymia as a kind of background sadness. A sadness that is almost always there, not always dramatic, almost never completely gone. Because it stays for so long and it feels normal, it is often overlooked or mistaken for a personality trait. Typical symptoms of dysthymia. The symptom pattern is similar to that of depression, just milder and more persistent. Common emotional symptoms include ongoing sadness or low mood, reduced energy, fatigue, low drive, difficulties concentrating and making decisions, rumination, doubt, pessimism, a feeling of hopelessness, low self-esteem, little pleasure even in positive situations. Physical symptoms are also common. Sleep problems like trouble falling asleep, staying asleep, or early awakening. Changes in appetite, eating more or less, stomach and digestive issues, headaches or back pain, inner restlessness, nervousness, circulation problems. Because these symptoms don't always look traumatic, many people blame themselves and see it as a personal weakness, laziness, or just my character. Why dysthymia is so easy to miss? The slow, persistent nature of dysthymia makes it tricky. Many people grow up with the feeling, I've always been like this. Their own experience gets labeled as just my normal, even when there is real inner suffering. From the outside, things can look fine. Job, relationships, daily routines, only without real joy or emotional color. Because of that, a lot of time can pass before anyone considers that this might be a treatable depressive disorder. Self-tests are okay. Diagnosis isn't a DIY project. Yes, it is completely understandable to try and figure out for yourself that what's going on there. Online questionnaires, articles and videos like this one can give you a first sense of direction. They do not replace a professional diagnosis. What really matters is how much your everyday life is limited and how much you're suffering. The best way to clarify this is through conversation with a medical doctor or mental health professional. Possible causes and risk factors. There's rarely one single cause. Usually several factors interact, like genetic and biological factors. Many families show a higher rate of depression or dysthymia. That doesn't mean everything is in your genes, yet it points to increased vulnerability. Personality factors. A strong inner critic, tendency to ruminate, high sense of responsibility, perfectionism, difficulty taking your own needs seriously. Environment and life conditions. Little natural light, especially in darker seasons. Long-term stressors like conflict, overload, social isolation. Earlier wounds and trauma. Loss of important attachment figures. Emotional neglect. Bullying, shaming experiences. Disturbed parent-child relationships like constant criticism, devaluation, overprotection. Persistent low mood and ongoing physical fatigue should also be medically checked, for example, to rule out thyroid disorders, deficiency, or other physical causes. When it's time to seek help, regardless of the exact diagnosis, you do not have to carry ongoing sadness and exhaustion alone. It's a good idea to seek support when you notice you felt low for many months or years. You hardly feel joy even in things that used to be meaningful. When you feel emotionally empty or hopeless. When everyday life runs, but only at a very high cost in energy. When you withdraw more and more. And this is crucial. As soon as thoughts show up that your life feels worthless or that you might harm yourself, it's time to reach out immediately to a medical doctor, psychiatrist, or a mental health professional, to a crisis line in your area, or to emergency services, please. Treating dysthymia. Dysthymia is treatable, even if it has been there for many years. Key components of treatment include psychotherapy. In therapy, the focus is on understanding your experience, recognizing long-standing patterns, building new ways of thinking and acting. Helpful approaches can include cognitive behavioral therapy, psychodynamic therapy, trauma-focused methods, hypnotherapy, hypnobalancing, and other body-oriented work, and mindfulness. There's so many ways to do that. Main goals are a kinder relationship with yourself, better access to your feelings and needs, expanding your sense of options step by step, and yes, also medication. In some cases, antidepressants can be a useful support, especially when symptoms are very persistent or fatigue is extreme. This decision is best made together with a physician, often a psychiatrist, or an experienced primary care doctor. Daily rhythm and environment is also important. It also helps to work on a stable sleep-wake rhythm. Light exposure, movement, regular meals, connection with people you feel safe with. Small, realistic steps instead of a huge, overwhelming goal. Since dysthymia usually runs less actually than severe major depression, treatment often happens on an outpatient basis. What matters most is patience, continuity, and realistic expectations. We are aiming for a gradual brightening, not a sudden magic transformation. Small daily practices can really be helpful. Explore them. Therapy is one pillar, and every life is another. Here are 3 gentle practices that many people find helpful alongside treatment. They are not a replacement for professional help, yet they can support your process. First, the 5-minute check-in. Once a day, preferably at the same time, pause for a moment and ask yourself what I'm feeling right now. In 1 or 2 words. Where do I feel it in my body? What would be one kind thing I could offer myself today? You don't have to change anything in that moment. It's enough to notice and to respond with a little bit of kindness. Second, one small, nourishing action. Choose one small activity per day that is not about performance, only about nourishment. For example, stepping outside for 5 minutes. Enjoy the fresh air. Look around. Especially good when there's green, when there are plants. Drinking a glass of water consciously. Listening to one song that feels okay or comforting. Sending a short message to someone you trust. Keep it tiny and doable. The point is not to optimize yourself. It is about sending your nervous system a signal of care every day. Third, a brief evening reflection. In the evening, write down 3 short lines. One thing that was difficult today, one moment that was at least a little bit okay, and one small step you'd like to support yourself with tomorrow. You're not grading your day. You're gently training your mind to also notice what is still present beside heaviness. What you're allowed to acknowledge. Dysthymia is more than being in a bad mood. It's a serious depressive disorder, one that can noticeably limit your quality of life. The good news is there are effective ways to work with this kind of depression and to feel more alive again. You don't have to minimize your experience. You don't have to simplify. You don't have to simply endure it. You are allowed to say, I don't want to live this anymore and I'm ready to get support. So what? Dysthymia is a mild and long-lasting form of depression. It runs chronically, often starts early in life, and it's therefore easy to miss. Typical features include ongoing low mood, little joy, low self-esteem, persistent exhaustion. Even if symptoms look not so bad, don't look extreme from the outside, they can narrow your life considerably over time. With targeted psychotherapy and, if needed, medication, symptoms can often be reduced significantly. It is possible to experience more color, more depth, and more joy in everyday life again. And if you'd like, you can write in a journal or share in a safe space. Since when have you felt quietly low most of the time? What are small moments in which you still feel a bit of warmth or connection? Sometimes change begins with this honest look at your own situation and the decision to let yourself be supported. I'm Carsten Nock, a travel companion for heroines and heroes. Let's walk this path together for a while and let's take good care of ourselves and of those who matter to us.